Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us this morning. We're just going to give a few seconds to let others join and give them a moment.
Yes, good morning. Thank you all for joining us on our job search support webinar today. Um, we're very excited to have you here to share how you can launch your job search in 5 steps. So as all of our attendees are trickling in, I'd like to just make note of a couple important things. So first of all, this is going to be recorded for training and improvement purposes. So if this webinar were to close unexpectedly, you can actually just go ahead and reopen it from the link you used to attend initially. Um, we do welcome your questions as well. So please type in any questions at any time using the Q&A box on the bottom of your Zoom window. We will be monitoring the questions during the webinar and we'll do our best to address them timely. We will also take questions during the last 5 minutes of today's session. So for privacy, all participants are in listen-only mode with microphones muted and cameras off. Once again, it is going to be a recorded webinar. So you are in the right place. If you're currently looking for a new job, if you're a new grad looking for your first real job, if you're a seasoned professional looking to make a pivot, if you were recently laid off and looking for your next opportunity, or if you could feel that you would just benefit from understanding the steps of a successful job search. So the information we're going to cover in this webinar will be useful no matter what situation or stage your career search is in. So depending on how long you've been at it, um, you might find yourself intimidated, overwhelmed, or frustrated with the process of seeking a new job. Our goal today is to break down the daunting task of a job search into 5 smaller steps to help you ease some of your frustration and overwhelm and ultimately land you your next job. So, my name is Tabitha, and I am an associate HR consultant here at Amy Cell Talent. I have been working on recruiting with all different types of organizations and various industries, and I know what employers are looking for in qualified candidates. So I'm actually new to this company, so I myself have very recently went through the job search process, and I know the steps we are covering today would have definitely made this an easier process for me. So I'm very excited to share them with all of you. And then I'm going to pass it over to Michelle for an intro.
Thanks so much, Tabitha. Hello, everyone. I am Michelle Galbraith, VP of People and Business Development at Amy Cell Talent. I've been here for 7 years now, and my role involves collaborating with employers to identify exceptional talent and guide job seekers on their career journeys. I excel at empowering individuals to present their achievements confidently and attract the attention of employers and recruiters. My extensive experience in talent acquisition, including recruiting top talent for consumer products and academia and tech and manufacturing firms, positions me as a valuable resource ready to support your needs. So as Tabitha mentioned, we're very excited to help and share some of those tips on your job search journey. And thanks for joining us this morning. I'm going to hand it over to Tabitha, who will kick us off with a poll.
Yes, so just to kind of get everyone involved, we're going to start off with a poll asking where you're at in your job search. So you should see it pop up on your screen now, hopefully. And just feel free to answer with where you're at currently in your job search or where you feel it's going currently. And we'll give you a second or two to kind of throw in some answers there. Okay. So it looks like we're kind of across the board here. So a few of you think that your job search is going nowhere. Hopefully, we can help with that. We can give you some nice steps to take and make you feel a little bit more confident in this. Some of you are getting some calls for interviews. Congratulations. That is very exciting. Yeah, so we are excited to share some tips and tricks to be able to help you along in your job search. So, just to kind of go over our agenda for this session, we do know a job search can be daunting. I know better than most. While we can rely on our education, our skills, and experience to guide us once we have the new job, it's likely that no one ever really taught us how to go about finding that new job. But don't worry, that's why we're here to help with 5 simple, actionable steps to begin or refine your job search. So, conducting an effective job search takes time, effort, and believe it or not, a lot of introspection, which is actually where we're going to start today. Before you can go about looking for a new job, you first have to really know yourself, what you want, what you don't want, and where you're trying to go, and then take what you know and use it to build the path to your destination. It's almost like when you use Google Maps to get directions. You type in where you want to go, and what does it ask for next? Where are you currently located? Without that, how can the map direct you how to get from point A to point B? It can be tempting for seekers to skip this step, thinking that they don't really need to take the time to think about what they want, that it's already clear, they just have to go out and find it. However, investing just a little bit of time thinking about and articulating this for yourself now will really pay off in the long run in everything from writing your resume and cover letter to networking to interviewing. So, in this section, the steps we'll cover include pinpointing your search criteria, discovering some target roles, identifying your ideal companies, and then once you've spent some time clarifying your job preferences and goals, then it's time to execute your search based on what you've identified. Here, I always recommend finding ways to work smarter, not harder. You're going to hear that a lot from us today. A lot of people will tell you that looking for a new job is in itself a full time job. And while it is important to set reasonable timelines and expectations for your search, I would also encourage you to use the tools and resources available to you to invest your time wisely and get the most out of your efforts. So, in the second half, we are going to cover building your job search toolkit and then cultivating your network. So, without further ado, I will kick it off with our first step. The first step, pinpointing your search criteria. So, how do we go about knowing ourselves and our job goals? This step really requires some introspection, like I said. And a good way to approach this is to interview yourself. So, ask yourself, what do I want to do? As I mentioned earlier, many people skip this step. So, why is it so important? There's really 2 reasons. One is taking the time to really ask yourself and understand what you want. It creates a solid foundation upon which you can build the rest of your search. So let's compare the following scenarios. If I have no introspection, I might say something like, I'm a project manager, so I'm looking for another project manager position. If I added some introspection to that, it might sound a little bit more like my strongest skills are collaboration, organization, and problem solving. I would prefer to work for a smaller organization. I'm used to working remotely, but it might be nice to go into an office at least sometimes. I know I don't want to formally manage others, though I do want to work as part of a team. I've mainly worked in the tech industry and enjoy it, and I'm interested in companies that are solving old problems in really creative ways. So, after hearing both of those, how do you think the job search for those individuals will go? What would each of their resumes look like? What do you think they might share in interviews? And how do you think the interviewer may receive them? As the saying goes, you get out what you put in. So, the second reason to take the time to interview yourself is to set you up for less labor intensive networking. So, having a more clearly defined answer for what do you do will help others help you when they can. So, how do you go about interviewing yourself? Here are some of the questions to consider. The first one, your location. Where do you really want to work? Are you willing to commute, relocate, or work remotely? A lot of jobs are remote right now, and it's reasonable to assume that a lot of jobs will stay that way for quite a while. So, if you can, don't limit your search to jobs in your immediate neighborhood, if at all possible. The next thing to look at, pay and benefits. What is the minimum salary and target salary? How does that compare with the market rate for what I currently do or what I'd like to be doing? And then take a look at which benefits are most important to you. Next would be responsibility, knowledge, and skills. So, what are the unique skills and knowledge I can offer employers? And then, what skills do I actually want to be using? What level of seniority and responsibility do I want? And then, do I want to manage people? If so, in what capacity? The next one to take a look at is industry. So, asking yourself, which industries might I actually want to work in? Which do I want to avoid? And then, which industries are maybe growing right now that I can get into the business a little bit early and grow with them? And then, maybe company size, taking a look at that. What size company are you really looking for? And then, what does this size match as far as businesses in my target industry? And then next would be the company culture. So, what kind of company culture do I work best in? What do I maybe want to avoid? What kind of manager would I like to be or have? What do I consider toxic management or culture? And then finally, your long term career goals. Do I know where I'd like to be long term? If so, what types of opportunities might help me get there? What types of opportunities might stall that process? If not, how would I like to look at my next opportunity, being able to contribute to help me discover my long term career goals? So, those are a lot of things to consider when interviewing yourself. And next, Michelle is going to help you take a look at ways to discover your target roles.
Perfect, Tabitha. Yeah, search criteria, understanding that that's your foundation. So next step, step 2, is to discover your target role or roles. Once you've got a good hold of your search criteria, discovering your target role is so important. Take time to identify a list of those target role or roles. Chances are your background and skill set would enable you to step into multiple different roles. It's just a matter of which roles fit with what you want in your next opportunity. To determine that, start broad, then narrow down. Research job titles associated with your background and skills. To find a list of these job titles, we know Google is your friend. For example, you can use quotes around alternative jobs for project managers. I know that Tabitha mentioned that earlier, and it may yield, if you type that into Google, program manager, operations manager, consultant, business analyst, and so on. Another example you could type in there is software engineer. Answers could be something along the lines of Salesforce developer, solutions engineer, quality assurance engineer, and so on. So take time to see what other titles are associated with the position that you are looking at or role. Then take the time to review the job descriptions. Utilize Indeed, Career Builder, LinkedIn, and so on to find current job postings for those specific titles. And then based on your research, which of these feel like a potential fit for your background, skills, and preferences? As you're searching for your list of job titles, do any of those job titles come up that you want to add to your list? So again, taking a look at those, then narrow down your list to the job postings that you feel align with what you're seeking. Go back to that search criteria that Tabitha just went over and take a look at each of those job postings, identify the keywords, skills, and potential certifications or degrees that the company is seeking. Write those down for each of the postings, highlight the ones that appear on multiple jobs. So that way you are canvassing multiple roles when you prepare your toolkit. Using these keywords, the skills and certifications, and then creating a tailored resume that speaks directly to the targeted role. The company is hiring because they have a problem. They have a problem to solve. There's a pain point and a hole in their organization. You want to make sure you craft your resume in a way that showcases your background and experiences as an obvious solution to their problem. So some folks find themselves targeting more than one type of role, and that's okay. Just repeat steps 1 through 3 for each type of role. Then create that tailored resume for each type. I would caution you, though, to stick to around 2 to 3 types of roles. If you have more than that, then go back to step 1 and do a little bit more digging to identify what is it that you really want for your next opportunity, so your job search is more effective. And I know Tabitha mentioned this earlier, it is not necessarily a sprint, right? This is a marathon. It is time invested upfront, so it'll be more effective down the road. So next up, I will talk about our third step in the job process, identifying your ideal companies. So now that you've determined, step 1, your search criteria, step 2, the targeted job titles or roles, you're now going to use this information to create a list of companies that fit your search criteria and perhaps currently employ positions that fit your skills and experiences. The time you spend up front, as I mentioned, investigating these companies will benefit you in the long run because you won't be spending energy applying to companies that aren't a good fit. Another advantage of having a list of target companies is that once you know where you want to work, you can try to network with the current or former employees who can potentially refer you for a position at that company. So don't worry right now if the companies don't currently have your target role posted. You never know when they may be hiring for another position as the company continues to grow or to backfill the job if someone leaves. So your list can also lead you to competitor companies that are currently seeking someone to fill your targeted role. So again, think of this process as similar to how you created your list of job titles. You'll start broad, then narrow down. Create your initial list of companies, and we like to recommend anywhere from 15 to 30, depending on your search criteria. Some helpful resources to create this list include, everyone knows LinkedIn and Glassdoor, opportunity to conduct company searches using filters such as industry and company size, utilizing Google Maps, as some of the smaller companies may not have presence on LinkedIn or Glassdoor, utilizing Fortune or Inc.com, taking a look at the 100 best companies. Cranes is really great for us, Cranes Detroit. If you're in the area, so some of you might be outside of Michigan that are joining us, but taking a look at Cranes. Organizations in your industry often also have a list of companies, Chamber of Commerce and so on. So taking a look at that as well as talking with people in your network. And then researching the companies on your list. You have that 15 to 30 group. Use that research, use LinkedIn's companies section as a tool to find company information, search by keywords or browse industry information. You'll be able to see your connections at the company, the new hires perhaps that they're featuring, promotions, positions that are posted, and again, related companies and company statistics. So the more you know about the organization, the better your understanding of how you fit within that organization. Visit glassdoor.com. You'll find company reviews, ratings, salaries, CEO approval rating, competitors, content providers, and so on. And then, of course, check out the company's website. Learn about their history, their team, the products and services that they offer, and an idea of what their culture is like, right? You can also visit the career page to take a look at what kind of positions they have posted. Then narrow your list from that 30, get it down to 10 to 15 companies to focus on and pursue. and then start networking in, connect, and apply to those open positions. So with a clear understanding of your search criteria, target job titles, and preferred companies aligning with those criteria, Tabitha is going to kick us off with step number 4. This step focuses on the tools in your toolkit that will effectively convey how you can address an employer's challenges, pain points, and contribute to their success.
Wonderful. Thank you, Michelle. So, yeah, step 4, building your job search toolkit. So, now it is time to build your toolkit, which is going to be tools that you use to help you communicate your knowledge, your skills, and experience to employers so that you can demonstrate that you are the right person for the role. So, your job search toolkit is going to consist of an elevator pitch, a resume, your LinkedIn profile, um, preparation for your interview impression, and then cover letters and thank you notes. So we're going to actually take a look at each one of these, but we're going to actually start with a question. So the first one listed there, develop your elevator pitch. So we want to know, do you have an elevator pitch? So you should see a poll pop up on your screen now. So feel free to go ahead and answer. Um, we're going to give it a couple seconds to make sure that people can get some answers in there. Okay. Okay. I feel like it looks like most of us are a little bit rusty as far as I can see. Some of you are even starting from scratch. So this is great. We're going to go through kind of what an elevator pitch is and then help you in trying to kind of develop your own. So that is going to be Michelle. So take it away, Michelle.
Perfect. Thanks so much for that poll, Tabitha. It gives us a good idea of where everybody's head is at right now. And honestly, developing your elevator pitch is super important. I love talking about this. I love helping folks put together their elevator pitch. Um, Given the responses, most of you are still numerating over this. So you are in the right place. An elevator pitch, as you know, is an important part of your job search toolkit. How many times have you been asked, so what do you do? Or in the interview, tell me a little bit about yourself. These questions come up consistently in both networking conversations as well as job interviews. So taking the time to craft an impactful elevator pitch will prepare you to answer these questions with ease and confidence. So what is an elevator pitch? It is a brief way to do 3 things. Introduce yourself, get across a key point or 2 about who you are and what you do, and make a connection with someone. It is not your life story or an oral presentation of your resume. It's called an elevator pitch because it takes roughly the amount of time you'd spend riding an elevator with someone, that 30 to 90 seconds. What do you want them to know before the doors open? What do you want them to remember about you? Your elevator pitch serves as a strong introduction and can be refined for use in a variety of professional situations, including your resume, your LinkedIn profile, and of course, the networking events. So taking the time to craft this now will really pay off for you in the long run in terms of saving time stumbling through introductions on the fly. So you might be thinking, but it's easy to introduce myself. I do it all the time. Introducing yourself is a simple premise. You know who you are, but making that impactful intro that carries your message forward is a little bit trickier. The more direct you are in your intro, the better your listener will understand who you are and what you have to offer. We say this to coaching clients all the time. Tell your story in a coherent way so that others can understand your value and don't need to guess where you fit in to their company or organization. So let's talk about how to develop your elevator pitch. Take some time to sit down and write these out. The more detailed, the better. You can always whittle it down later. But As I mentioned, this is an opportunity to promote yourself, and the focus is to share your special sauce, your superhero powers. How will others remember you? You want it to be shareable when they tell someone later, hey, I just met this awesome person, Tabitha. She's really good at fill in the blanks. How do you want them to finish that sentence about you? We've included a template, this is my favorite, on the side here, on the slide, that we've adapted from Elliot Lowe. He is an angel investor for so many businesses, and he provided a pitch kind of template for businesses. So we adapted that to be able to utilize for our coaching clients. And so use this as a Mad Lib to fill in your answers to start to craft your pitch. Now, again, this is simple. It's very simple just to start to plug and play. Take a moment if you want to grab a screenshot or take a picture of it. Limit it to 30 to 90 seconds, as I mentioned. Being clear, concise, and compelling within those 30 to 90 seconds is key. And make sure you know what point you want to make and to how to get to it. So that simple Mad Lib here is talking about what is the target audience's problem. So that employer, what is the problem they're having for that particular position? And what kind of advantages or value proposition that you offer for that particular target audience? And how do you help that target audience accomplish their goal, right? That's going to be key. And so taking a look at that elevator pitch and how you are able to plug and play and then adapt it to meet your needs. You want to keep it simple, and in some cases, having a hook is fantastic. Consider this hook to pique your audience interest so that they want to ask more questions about what you do and what makes you special. And of course, you want to be truthful, right? As it speaks to your own personal narrative. Your goal is to use this 30-second pitch as a time to hook the listener as to what you do best or what you're passionate about, what makes you unique, and who you serve. Your goal is to connect with people and get them interested in you. So I have two different types of hooks, and I'll share with you the hook that I tend to, if somebody were asking me at a networking event, so tell me a little bit about yourself. And so my hook, I tend to start with a question, and I'll say, well, you know how folks have been working the same job for the last 10, 15 years, and suddenly they're faced with starting over again and don't know where to start when preparing their resume or heading out to networking events. That's where I come in to support them with that process. And 9 times out of 10, people get it and understand what I do and how I might be able to help. And then oftentimes they're either, oh, I know somebody who might need that, or I myself am looking. So think about ways that is suitable for you, the way you interact with folks, but having some kind of question sometimes helps get that hook in there. And also think about ways that that you might be able to help them or somebody else they know. So knowing that you've got this elevator pitch and you've got this Mad Lib started, you want to continue to refine and practice, practice, practice. Practice with a colleague, a family member, or a close friend. And don't worry about being nervous. These people already know you, and sometimes they perceive strengths in you that you don't always notice for yourself because it just comes naturally. So it's really good to share your pitch. Be sure to ask for and be receptive to feedback. How clear was it? How was the length? How was your pace? After hearing your pitch, what would you do to evolve it? And how would it be shared amongst others? And what would they, from hearing your pitch, what would they remember most from it? Use your phone. All of us have some kind of recording device nowadays, and record your pitch. Listen back so you can hear how it sounds to an audience member and pay attention to your pace. Practice in front of a mirror or practice making eye contact while you speak. The more you practice, the more comfortable you will be with what you're saying and the more natural it will sound. So again, practice, practice, practice. Through your practice, you'll also be letting people know about the types of opportunities you are seeking. Don't stop there. Share your pitch as a post on LinkedIn, Facebook, to let those networks know that you are looking for a new opportunity and they might be able to help. So people want to help other people, but they don't always know how. So having a clear elevator pitch can give them something specific to latch onto, to make an introduction, recommend to open jobs they've seen, or even keep in mind for future opportunities they may come across. If people don't know what you do, who you help, and what makes you unique, they can't help. All right. So remember, an elevator pitch can be tailored as an introduction at a networking event, your resume profile, your LinkedIn profile, and part of answering that dreaded "tell me about yourself" question. And we love helping job seekers prepare this response. So enough about that. I could talk on for days. I'm going to hand it over to Tabitha, who will share important considerations when building your resume.
I am going to actually throw it back to the elevator pitch for a second. We received a question. So, a question that somebody asked on the elevator pitch: is there info a recruiter would glean from the elevator pitch that isn't present in the resume?
Is there info that the recruiter could, I'm sorry, I don't see the Q&A, but can you
Oh,
repeat that?
yeah. Is there info a recruiter would gain from the elevator pitch that isn't present in the resume?
It can be. So if you offer your value proposition there about, so the efficiencies that you create on the job, the project timelines that you keep on schedule below market resources or budgeted resources, then there are things that you can express via verbally, then you can express in the resume. Remember, elevator pitches. So your resume is your calling card, so to speak, and your exhaustive list of all the things that you have accomplished and the results. And Tabitha will get into that momentarily. The elevator pitch is that quick snippet of who you are and what you offer to that company's pain point. And so it's kind of a summary, if you will, but not so much a summary. Okay, best way case scenario, it's marketing who you are. And it's just a quick snippet so that people want to continue reading on in your resume or continue learning more about you. Is that
Mhm.
helpful? I hope that's helpful to the answer.
I think it was. But feel free to throw in any follow-up questions you might have into the Q&A.
Absolutely.
And then I am going to talk about your resume, crafting a resume. So, thank you for the quick rundown on the elevator, Michelle, elevator pitch. So, like your elevator pitch, your resume can often be your first impression to prospective employers. And also, like your elevator pitch, recruiters and hiring managers may only spend 30 to 90 seconds on an initial review of a resume. So, how do you ensure you snag their attention? So, first things first, your resume is about your future, not your past. While it may seem like a resume is a list of everything you've done until now, it really should be supporting evidence of what you can do going forward. So, in the same vein, your resume is also about what you want to do, not just what you have done. So be sure to include only relevant and marketable skills based on what you know about the role and industry that you're targeting. And then promote only the skills you enjoy and want to use in future roles. There's really no point in sharing something you can do that you know you don't really want to do in your next role. So, as you're building your supportive evidence for what you want to do, keep in mind that your resume should promote your best work. Um, Not just your everyday work. So don't write out your job descriptions. Focus more on what you accomplished in each role. So using action verbs to highlight your transferable skills, things like created, designed. You can always Google action verbs for resumes, and they give a great list. And then highlight those results and metrics. So show potential employers that you can get things done. Ultimately, that's where the focus of potential employers is, are on your results. They have a role they need filled, and they are searching for the person who can fill that role. When they look at a resume, they're really screening to see if that person's background and experience checks their boxes in order to move forward to a conversation or an interview. So be sure to make it easy for them to find what they're looking for by ensuring that your resume speaks directly to the recruiter or hiring manager. So just be mindful of any jargon that may not be understood by those outside of your organization. Make it easy to read. Try to keep it to one page if possible. Use some bullet points to break up blocks of text and things like that. Um, and then tailor your resume to the role and organization. So do your research. I, as a recruiter, can see when people have researched the company and when they have not. And just taking that extra step to kind of show that you understand what maybe the company's mission and things like that are, and you incorporate that into your resume, we notice those things. So um, once your resume is all set, you might want to take your skills and abilities online to LinkedIn, which Michelle is going to share some information on now.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Tabitha. That's great. Resumes are your calling card, your billboard advertisement, as I mentioned. Your next step is to align your storytelling via LinkedIn, right? Telling that story from your elevator pitch to your resume and now your LinkedIn profile. This is the #1 widely used recruiting tool. Every recruiter I know uses it, either to post jobs or to look up applicants. So be sure you have a presence there. You can use your LinkedIn profile to find and apply to jobs, reiterate your background and experience, show your professionalism, personality, and engagement. And here are some basics when it comes to utilizing your LinkedIn profile effectively. Be sure your work experience matches and enhances your resume, right? Here's where you can add additional info that didn't fit on your resume. And it's okay if you include extra things on your LinkedIn profile. However, for the most part, your LinkedIn profile should match your resume. If there are glaring differences, it might lead to some questions for the employer to wonder about. Update your profile to show that you are available to work. And if you don't know how to, just Google how to do that. Follow companies that you are interested in working with. Go back to that target company list that you created, those 15 to 30 companies, narrow it down to 10 to 15 and start following them. So that way you understand we always talked about this, in the know. Be in the know of what that company is doing, what's innovative, what their plans are and vision is for the future, and who they're hiring for and what they're hiring for, and people that may occupy the position that you are already interested in, and be able to research. We talked about that as well. Join groups in your areas of interest. So associations, clubs, recruiters will often post jobs in those particular groups. Alumni associations is another one I think about, and it's a way to connect with other people. Make sure to customize your profile URL so that it's short and matches your name, and then include it on your resume. Again, if you don't know how to shorten your URL, Google that. Once you've got the basics set up, you can tap into the networking power of LinkedIn. Get recommendations. Ask current or former colleagues or vendors or agencies or managers and others who can speak to your professional skills and experiences to share a recommendation. And maybe perhaps barter by offering you to, in exchange, to share one for them. And then it's a win-win. Potential employers do read those recommendations on your profile. It's another piece of evidence that you'd be a great fit for their company or for that particular role that you're seeking. Make connections. Think old employers, that person that you met at a conference last year, a previous colleague who just moved to a new company, everyone. This is a way for you to network and does not mean that you personally know all of your connections. Likewise, as you meet people through networking events and friends, make the point to look them up on LinkedIn and request to connect. This will automatically broaden your feed of posts on your homepage, which will often include jobs, as LinkedIn will show you posts that your connections have reacted to or commented on from people to whom you are not connected. So if you're wanting to pivot, I know that was one of the questions that we received, into a new industry or role, this is a great way to get started. Reach out to someone who is in your target industry or role and ask them if you can pick their brain about how they got into their field. And lots of people are willing to help others to get their start in their field of interest. So, all right. So that's LinkedIn, just a quick synopsis of how to make use of it. Next, so you've got your resume, you've conducted the networking and your LinkedIn profile to attract an employer and landed the interview. Fantastic. But once the initial excitement wears off, often fear sets in. For many people, there's nothing quite so nerve-wracking as a job interview. But a job interview is really just an attempt to answer three basic questions. One, can you do the job? Two, can you do the job well? And three, are you the right fit for the role or company or culture? So can you do the job? Do you have the certifications? Do you have the licenses? Do you have the degree? Uh, can you do the job well? Are you results focused? Have you created efficiencies? Are the quality, are you managing quality and control? Are you managing projects and coming in at the milestones and under budget and under limited resources? Are you the right fit for the company or role? Are you a collaborator? Are you innovative? Are you adaptable? Are you mission driven? All of those things help tell the story. So those three questions that you need to answer. But here's the thing. Think of an interview not as the opportunity to convince them to hire you, but a conversation between the two parties, exploring the answers of those three questions. After all, they've reached out to you for an interview, so they obviously see the skills that you have. So think about the skills and focus more on showing who you are and checking for alignment with that organization. To nail a job interview, you must research, prepare, and practice. Hey, but you've already done that, right? You've done step 1, 2, and 3. You've conducted your research. You understand the roles. So this should be a no-brainer at this point. But go refresh, go back to the company websites, look specifically at the About page to learn about the company, and then the history, and then the careers page to learn about the team and the culture, the services page to understand the business itself or products that they sell. And then Google the company to find any recent news, perhaps product launches, new locations, funding, and so on, or even YouTube for that matter. And then having a thorough understanding of the job description. So revisit the job description, and that helps prepare for the questions that you most likely will be asked. Take a look at those competencies. Take the time to read over it a few times, highlight those competencies, jot down your stories that appeal to those particular skill sets that you can use during your interview. And for preparing those supporting stories, we go into great detail with this when we're coaching, but you can utilize those words from the job description. Write down a short example of how you've demonstrated those skills by using the CAR acronym. C stands for describing that challenge or context in the situation. What were the challenges? What were the goals, the deliverables? A, the actions that you specifically took, the folks you interacted with, the stakeholders, the clients, the C-level suite, or so on. And R, you've heard this from Tabitha and you've heard it from me, the results. What value do you offer through your actions and the results based on metrics, efficiencies, savings, possibly anything that you learned as well if it wasn't exactly how it turned out. Interview yourself. What questions would you ask someone in order to achieve those three goals of an interview of can you do the job? Can you do the job well? And are you the right fit? Write down your questions as well as your answers to each of these, and then use a story example. Stories are key. People remember that. And someone who said, yes, I can do that. I've done it before. Or someone who told you a specific time they utilized a skill or challenge they faced, the actions that they took and the results they achieved, you tend to remember that more, telling those stories. So the other additional things that I'm seeing that we're running out of time, we're running close to time here, always have questions at the end of your interview That way, when if you have at the end of the interview questions prepared, it can come across that you have done your research, you are interested in the position and job. But if you don't have any questions, it may look as though you are not as interested. Try to ask open-ended questions of what or how, and then go back to your search criteria. If there's anything that you haven't heard that you want to understand more about the position, now's the time to ask about that. But it is not necessarily a time to ask about salary and benefits in your initial interviews. Use your research. Again, is so important from the website and the job description to ask those deeper questions. What are your company's values? Those can usually be found on the website. But which of the company values most resonate with you as a manager in your daily work could be more informing. Also, Google go-to interview questions for software engineer, project manager, and so on. And utilize that to practice. Practice, practice, practice. So you've prepared, you've done the research, you've looked at the job descriptions. Now practice. Practice with your friends, your family members, or a previous colleague, and practice answering those questions on a recording or in the mirror. Sometimes you're set up too. There's a lot of video interviews that are taking place. Be sure to test that equipment. Check that you can access the video platforms if they're using a video platform. Make sure you have good lighting and that you're able to stare into the camera and they're not getting an upward shot of your chin. There are two other important letters. So that's interviewing. I just wanted to give you a brief understanding of that. There are two important letters that should not be missed, which Tabitha will cover next. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So yeah, final piece of our toolkit here is cover letters and thank you notes. And Michelle is right. A lot of people actually don't end up sending these a lot of the time. But when it comes to cover letters and thank you notes, our advice is to, again, work smarter, not harder. Templates are your friend. So in regards to a cover letter, you're going to create a template that you can use for each job application with only some minor tweaks to be able to kind of tailor it to the individual company or role that you're applying for. So your tweaks should include answering, how can you help solve the employer's problem? What makes you a fit for the company and or the role? And then when writing your template, just like with your resume, be sure to make it easy for recruiters. Use those keywords in a simple, concise format to show them how you are the best answer to their needs. And then thank you notes. I will say they're pretty rare, but thank you letters are a really good vehicle to be able to thank the interview team as well as add something to your candidacy after the interview is complete. Not a lot of people do this. I will say it helps you stand out, especially from a recruiting perspective. I have been in this business a short amount of time, but I've only received one or two thank you letters, and those candidates definitely stand out to me. So again, just create a basic thank you note template, and then feel free to do some tailoring here too. You can kind of use some of the same questions as the cover letter. And if you remembered another helpful example that is unique to the position, you could add it to your thank you letter. It'll just show that you kind of care. And then that's really all for your toolkit. Michelle is going to cover our fifth and final step next, which is cultivating your network.
All right. So yes, stand out by writing that cover letter. If they ask you for a cover letter, make sure you submit one. And that thank you note is impressive when we do receive them. All right. So your toolkit on networking. Targeted networking is key to successfully landing your next position. We strongly suggest 80% of your efforts should be proactive outreach and developing those relationships. And the other 10%, attending those career fairs, the networking events, meetups, and so on. You should still spend a little bit of time going through job boards. This should be about another 10% of the time that you spend on a job search. So what is networking? It's basically connecting with other people to build relationships, share passions, or offer help where and when you can. Networking is core to getting a job. Helping others get jobs and being successful in business and life. So now is the time to make a long-term investment in your relationships that will be helpful for your future. Where to network. Family, friends, neighbors, let them know you're looking for a new opportunity and share your elevator pitch. Ask if they can connect you with anyone that you know in your field or industry. LinkedIn, we've talked about utilizing that and making connections there from past colleagues and managers to agencies or vendors or suppliers you may have worked with, and build those particular relationships. Attending events, it could be clubs or alumni associations, meetups. There's tons of meetups here in the area, in the Ann Arbor area, if you're from here. But you will take a look at those websites and start plugging in. The more you put yourself out there, the more people you'll meet and the more extensive your network will be. And then just keep in mind some tips: network before you need it. Always be networking or building those relationships, because you just don't know where you could be able to help someone and also strengthen that valuable connection that could help you down the road. Know what you can offer in terms of skills and skill sets and your connections. Be sincere of those connections as well. And that's really important in developing that network. And then have a plan and prepare how you go about spending your time before attending an event. Conduct your research. You heard that so many times from Tabitha and I in terms of your job search journey. It's all about research and understanding what's at this event. What's your goal when you attend this event? Who are you hoping to connect with? Maybe some questions that you have developed or ways of introducing yourself, and that elevator pitch. And then make it a goal. If you're somebody who dreads networking, make it a goal of something fun. Like, I'm hoping to meet, 2 new people today that are in a different industry, or, just coming up of a way to make a challenge to yourself. Practice your elevator pitch that we talked about in your toolkit, so that you're ready to share it at the right moment during a conversation. Brainstorm some of those icebreakers and stepping into conversations. And I always like to use what brought you here today, or how did you hear about this event, or so just think about how you can make those connections in relation to the event itself. And then another way to remember people is repeating the person's name. Not only is it good for you that you were listening, but also that people love hearing their name, that you remembered what their name is. So repeating their name will also help you um, remember it later. So, and then of course, listening and asking questions and listening. Making time to do that table tennis or pickleball if you're into that these days. The back and forth of it. And then ask follow-up questions so you can convey your interests and make them feel heard. So as you continue to make those connections and you meet people, how do all of these people connect to one another and help to see how you can make connections? The other day at networking event, I was making connections with a new person at their job and somebody who is a seasoned lawyer, and got them connected. So it was exciting to see that happen, and being helpful. So how can you help? That's another thing, is how can you help somebody? Oh, what are you looking to get into or accomplish today? What are you looking to learn at this particular event or presentation? Throwing a lot at you because I realize we're over time, but we get so excited about this. And then of course, get their contact info, give your contact info, and then follow up with an email, and follow through. So if you struggle with what to say, just say a quick note of, "It was nice to meet you," and then perhaps a simple sentence of what you talked about. And that way, it's a reminder to them, of course, of who you are as well, and something that you may have in common, even better. All right, so those are the important 5 steps to complete and process your job search journey. And I'm going to turn it over to Tabitha to help us get through the end of it.
Yeah. So just to kind of summarize, the steps you're taking is setting goals for yourself, identifying companies where you can accomplish those goals, update your job search tools to match your goal, network towards your goal, and then get help if you need it. And we're here to help. We are going to throw up one last poll question for you just to kind of see what has helped, what made you feel a little bit more comfortable. So I'm going to throw that up now, hopefully. And feel free to take a moment to answer that. You can choose multiple here if you feel comfortable with a few or none at all.
Oh dear, I hope that you took at least one tip from today. Um,
Me too. Luckily, it looks like everyone is comfortable with at least one or more. And so that helps us know that we've kind of helped a little bit here. But we are also going to um, offer up some time for questions. I know we're a little bit over here, but we want to give you the ability to ask any specific questions you might have. So feel free to take a minute and throw any questions you might have into the Q&A. So we'll give a moment for that. Okay. Well, if there are questions that you think of, please let us know. You can always reach out to us via email. You will receive a follow-up email here. Um, but it looks like we do have a question. So I'm going to go ahead and answer that one here. So the question is, what are some good strategies for navigating a job search while working full-time, especially for someone in the office 3 days a week? That's a very good question.
mhm. So yes, we understand while working full time, it might be difficult. And so setting up blocking time, like, okay, 30 minutes this week, I'm going to spend connecting with two new people on LinkedIn. Bite size. Okay, 30 minutes on my 2 days that I'm not in the office. I'm going to carve out time to go online and research my one company. Start out small. I think that's the biggest thing that I would caution for folks is not to say, oh, I've got 15 companies that I'm interested in. Oh my God, where do I start? It's like, start with number one. Just start small. So that one company, spend that week. That's the focus. One company, understanding their company goals, the mission, how it matches with your search criteria in step one, what kind of job titles or roles that they have that align with what you're looking for in step two. And then step three, taking a look at those job descriptions and identifying those skills that you need. So saying, hey, I'm going to spend time on just one company this week. And then I'm going to try to see with that particular one company how I can network in. And if it takes you 1 month or if it takes you 2 weeks, that's fine. But just starting off in small bite size and following those 5 steps that Tabitha and I shared with you to get you started. And I would say just start small.
I agree. Slow and steady wins the race. Um, and we are
So,
here to
yeah.
help also. So if you do need help with anything that we've covered today or have any further questions, you can always reach out to us here. We do offer services for job seekers, including individualized career coaching. We have job search toolkit support or even target company list creations to help you kind of go through some of those steps. So you can always email us at careercoach@amycelltalent.com. We have also included some resources to help you get started in your job search. So there are some local resources, including Ann Arbor Spark, there's Michigan Works and Pure Michigan. So you may be familiar with some of the others like Indeed and Glassdoor, but also be sure to check out ZipRecruiter. That's actually how I found my current position here. So it was a very helpful tool and easy to use. And then also check your local chambers of commerce as well. Um, and then we do want to thank you for attending our webinar today, and we hope that you found it helpful. You should receive a short 3-question survey in your email. And if you could please take a few minutes to fill it out, we would really appreciate any comments or feedback that you have about today's session. I will also be sending up a follow-up email, including the recording. So thank you again, and best of luck to each of you in your job search. Thank you so much.
Thanks for joining us. Have a great day and good luck with everything. Appreciate it.